What's up, y'all? It's your boy Melanated Master here with another book review video. Today, we'll be doing a book review video on this great book, Lost Prophet of the Bible, Enoch the Ethiopian, by Indus Khamit Kush. And this book right here, this is another good book. So a little background on Enoch. He was part of one of the early 10 prophets that's mentioned in the Old Testament of the Bible. There's actually two Enochs that are mentioned. The one that we are going to be talking about is the second Enoch that's mentioned later in the Bible, not the Enoch that I believe is the son of Cain, not that one, but the one that's later down the line. But basically, this book talks about how Enoch was amongst one of the only prophets. Well, he wasn't the only one, but it was him and it was two other prophets, depending on what religion you want to honor. But him, the prophet Elijah, and the prophet Yeshua, which is known to Christians as Jesus. He was amongst those prophets that was able to go to heaven without having to experience death. So he was so righteous and he was so intelligent that he was able to do things that other prophets couldn't. This book talks about that, how one of the slogans is Enoch the prophet. I believe it's like I want to say it's like holier than Abraham, greater than Moses. Oh no, it's actually right there in the book. Greater than Abraham, holier than Moses. And I just really like I like the cover art too. You got the wise beard, melanin, sticking out like that. But yeah, this book talks about, this book also talks about the Moors. How the Moors, played a role in this book. Now, I will say this: this particular book isn't a translation or a interpretation of the actual book of Enoch. So you won't actually find the full, Hebrew book of Enoch in here. This is just, stating facts about, the prophet Enoch and what he did and his legacy and, how it affected society today, as far as, them whitewashing a lot of melanated people back then. So the actual book of Enoch isn't word for word in here. Now, this book also does not talk about the Watchers, because if you're familiar with the Hebrew book of Enoch, it mentions Watchers and aliens coming down from space, teaching people how to wage war, how to create weapons, teaching people how to do those types of things. This book doesn't talk about that. This book is just trying to assert how great Enoch was and trying to ask the question of how come he isn't worshipped like the other prophets in the Bible, when he has very high accolades when it comes to, being recognized by God. There's not any other, there's not a large group of prophets who were able to, go to heaven without experiencing death. So, and this book elaborates on that. At the end of this book, it talks about how the Europeans and Caucasians, it's crazy, but how they used to make like false diseases and make up like names of false diseases and false sicknesses to try to prove that melanated people or black people were inferior to, Caucasian or European people. This book talks about that toward the end. This book connects the link between how, when you talk about, normally, when people think of Hebrews, they think of Ethiopia and dark melanated people, right? But when you talk about Jews, you talk about you know Caucasian people. That's like a distinction that some people get when they talk about that particular subject. And Jews are actually what they call Khazars or Khazarians. Khazars from the land of Khazaria. But it elaborates on the fact that the Jewish religion was inherited. Um, uh, I believe it, the book talks about the Phoenicians. If you aren't familiar with the Phoenicians, it's an ancient civilization of melanated people, as well as Caucasian people. A few Caucasian people might have been in there here and there, but it's predominantly melanated people. It's a great civilization. It lasted for a long time. It's responsible for a lot for the influence of how a lot of the religions were formed today, especially the Jewish religion. The Phoenicians it had a very, very big influence on the Jewish religions or the Judaic religions, whatever you want to call it, Um, but yeah, this book makes that, elaborates on that a little bit. I mean, uh, you know, this book talks about how Enoch was one of the greatest, engineers and mathematicians, and you name it, he did it because he was able to receive sacred knowledge of, the heavens. This book talks about how he he ascended to heaven in a fiery chariot, in which that sounds like to me it sounds like a spaceship, but to some people, it might sound like him burning or him, some crazy stuff. But it talks about that. It talks about how he was so noble and righteous that God taught him how everything was created, as far as the seven layers to creation, or the seven tablets of creation. He was able to receive that knowledge of how everything was created, the heavens and the earth, and all of it. Um, uh, Now, a big thing or a big situation that this book talks about is how he was known as Enoch in his human form, but when he ascended to heaven, he actually became known as Methuselah, uh, and which his names actually translates to different things, like the righteous one, or the wise one, or the wise man, or the one with wisdom. That's what his names translate to. So yeah, when he went to heaven, he was now known as Methuselah. He actually came back. His book talks about how he actually came back to help humans learn and do things that they didn't know how to do. I mean, this book just goes in on all his accolades. It's a really great book if you want to get to know more about this particular prophet. I definitely recommend it. It's a great book, and yeah, it's your boy Melanated Mastery, Road to Reading 1,000 Books. This is a great book, Book of Enoch, the Ethiopian by Indus Kush. Definitely recommend getting it. It's your boy Melanated Mastery, man. I'm out.